Hi, everyone. This is Dawn Richard, also known as The Awakening with Dawn. And you're here at the Wake Up to Real Love podcast, where we share stories of struggles and triumphs in love, sex, and relationship, along with expert advice to create more conscious connections. I'm really, really excited today. My guests are such a beautiful couple. They are Grecia and Victor Karlsson. They're conscious visionaries who strive to be a force for good in the world. Spiritual teachers of A Course in Miracles, the teachings of many thought leaders such as Buddha, Jesus, Deepak Chopra, Tony Robbins, and Marianne Williamson. The Karlssons aim to provide their students with the awareness to choose love over fear in each moment. Coming from completely different backgrounds and having traveled the world, the Karlssons are able to provide a deeper understanding of life and utilize a powerful blend of practical psychology and spirituality in order to help their soulmate clients to choose a beautiful state of being, no matter the circumstance. With unshakable success, the Karlssons are helping to heal the world and create a new earth by being the change they wish to see. Welcome, Grecia and Victor.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us, Dawn. We're so excited and grateful to be here and just to share our love with the world, and anything that we can do to help is always great.
Yes, I mean, that's what impressed me so much when I met you guys 3 years ago. It's like, who are these youngsters being the world changers?
Yeah.
I was so inspired and motivated by you two, and have watched the two of you both blossom, both individually and as a couple. And so I wanted to invite you to talk about how you're really dreaming big.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I'm excited. Good stuff to come.
Oh, totally.
So what I wanted to start off asking you is, how is your relationship with each other different than the previous relationships you've had in your life?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think it all boils down to ourselves, right? And as much as previous relationships may have felt like they were, maybe not so good, they were destructive, they were like quote unquote bad for you, they were absolutely necessary I'll speak for myself, for me to get here, right?
In what way? In what way were they necessary?
So growing up, I was dealing with a lot of self-doubt, very, very low level of self-confidence. Mm-hmm. And obviously that in relationships, that manifested into different things. It could have just been, people taking advantage, kind of feeling or being run over in different ways, not really having your own voice in as a couple or in a relationship. It's like you're the tail of the other one or something like that. So for me, all those previous relationships for me really helped me see that it wasn't a problem with the other person. It was just the fact that I didn't love myself enough I didn't know myself enough to know what I wanted, right? And not only did it awaken me to the fact that I need to love myself in order to be loved in this relationship, but I don't want this in a relationship. I don't want that in a relationship. And all those things came to me, and I learned all those things by experiencing them. So, obviously it can happen in different ways. And for me, it happened personally, right? Luckily for everybody listening now, they get to hear from us, and hopefully not having to experiencing all that themselves. Obviously that's the point of stepping up and sharing our voice,
right?
But I would say for sure it's just been a learning lesson in knowing what I want and what I don't want in relationships, and that's what the previous relationship has been for me.
And what is it now?
And what is it now? Now I'm so full of self-love that I am able to overflow for others, especially my partner. And I've gotten so clear on what I want, and I found the person that fits every single box, to where we don't ever have to sacrifice any of our own desires in life just because of somebody else's fear, which is a huge deal, right?
That is a huge deal.
For sure. And that comes back to the self-love. It's like, oh, what? I mean, I've been in relationships where I wasn't necessarily allowed to speak to my family. I mean, that's just,
wow.
It's so fearful, right? But breaking it down, it makes sense to why this person felt that way, right? Because of their own personal experience, because of all their own fears that they've been instilled by their people and by society and by environments and teachers and everything else.
Their own insecurities.
Absolutely. And because I was insecure, then I took on that person's insecurities, and it was just a big shit show. But, you know, it was necessary. Absolutely necessary. I think that once you realize that something is not best for you, that's when it's your responsibility to move forward and to change, right? It's like what we always say, it's not your fault if you're messed up, but it's 100% your responsibility that you don't stay messed up, right?
That can you repeat that, please? I think that's a really, really important and valuable lesson for all of the listeners.
Definitely. So it's not your fault that you're messed up, but it's 100% your responsibility not to stay messed up.
Yeah.
To heal.
That's a biggie, because I think a lot of times people get into the shit show and they just blame their partner, right? They're not willing to look in the mirror and look at themselves to see, what do I need to do differently? How do I need to show up in a better way, both for myself and for my partner?
Definitely.
Yeah, Victor and I always use the example, if somebody bumps into you and you have coffee in your cup, coffee will spill out because that's what's in your cup. If there's tea in your cup, there would be tea in your cup, right? So what's spilling out of the cup? And so it's the same thing with human beings. If somebody bumps into you or in previous relationships triggers you, whatever's in your cup will spill out. In my previous relationships, I was seeking the love of my father and men. My dad was a heroin addict, in and out of prison my whole life. So I was always like seeking that love. So I was going from man to man to man, looking for that. Right before I met Victor, I was participating in an abusive relationship. I had anger issues, it was just tough. And that was the beginning of my personal development journey. I started to be willing to change, willing to see what's in my cup, because if what's spilling out is anger, that means there's anger in my cup. Right. So it's now in this healing journey. It's a forever healing journey, right?
Yes.
We have to
it is.
To fill up our cup with what we want it to spill out. Right now it's kindness and compassion and support for one another, because we have kindness, compassion, and love for ourselves. And right before meeting him, that's the journey that I was on, was, hey, I love me. Like, I'm going to be there for me. And I was like, I don't need no man. I'm never going to get married. Like, that's where I was at, you know? Fully getting my power back.
I'm a fully empowered woman. Who needs men?
Exactly. And I was like, I was finding out who I was. For the first time in my life, I was single. I mean, growing up, I was never single. I was single for 2 weeks, maybe. Hey, you can imagine that I was not me. I didn't know who I was, you know? So for the first time, I found out who I was. And then a couple of months later, God's like, here you go. Here's your dream man. I was like, what? I told myself I would never be in a relationship again. But then finally, we get to experience this kind of love because we prioritized it and we set that standard for ourselves.
Do you think that you were in all of those relationships because maybe you were just afraid to be alone?
Yeah, definitely. 100%. That, and I mean, our biggest fear as humans is that we're not enough. And if we're not enough, we won't be loved. And so the program that I was not raised to believe, it's not like, oh, you're going to believe this, but my family believed it because their families believed it. And it was just like generations of, a man needs to support you. He's going to you need a man with money so he can support you. You're going to be a housewife. You're going to clean and cook. And, it's just a whole different lifestyle than what my heart actually desired, what visions I got for my future. But I was chasing that so hard because that's what I thought was the right thing to do. Right. I didn't know anything different. And so, I mean, now full circle all the way around, getting to know myself, I get to say, what do I want? What do I believe to be true? What kind of relationship do I want? What kind of marriage? Do I want a marriage? Like, what do I want? Right? So yeah, definitely. I love it. I'm grateful for the experience to come back to myself and force myself to be alone and just talk to myself, right? Have a relationship with the person I spend the most time with.
Well, I think it's really amazing that the two of you, because you're still relatively young, and to have that insight and awareness is really admirable. I mean, I don't know if you see the other people around you, because I've experienced this as well. It's like you look at other people and they're living, they're not dreaming big, right? They're just sort of surviving, and they don't even have this idea that, oh, I'm supposed to love myself. Like, that's a completely new concept. And if you're not taught it, I mean, that's why I sort of wonder with you too, like, how did you come to this awareness that was the important thing that you needed to focus on?
This is fun. This is what I'm all about, because the process is the journey, right?
Yeah.
What I always say, the journey is the destination. So for me, I experienced a lot of death early on in my life. My sister passed away when I was 8.
Wow.
And obviously that was really traumatic for a child who doesn't really understand what that means.
How old was she?
She was 6.
Oh my gosh, how
so,
awful
yeah.
for your whole family.
Yeah, it was very, very, very tough, but also a big reason for why we're so close today, right? So definitely a blessing in disguise. So that kind of started it off, and then a lot of other people close to me. All my grandparents passed away, family members, cousins, best friends. I think I went to my 9th funeral when I was 18, and most of them, all those funerals were, I mean, there were multiple a year, let's say, and they were really close people. So that just, immediately after, I would say, I kind of put myself in a bubble. I don't have a lot of memories from that time, which is interesting in my journey now moving forward, because I know as I move forward and learn new things start popping up, and I'm always learning from that time still.
Right.
But really what happened after that was I started asking myself bigger questions, like, what is life about? Why are we even here in the first place if death is inevitable, right? And I think it's that exact reason, is asking the questions and being willing to hear the answers and take them in and move forward with them, right? Most people just don't even ask the questions of how could I be and live in a better life? How could I stop being depressed, right? It's very much like what you're focusing on expands, right? And what most people do is through programming, right? It's not that it's anybody's fault, and everybody's doing the best they can with what they have, but what's happening is that most people are focusing on what they don't want, right? And the brain is just, that's what the brain is doing. We're always asking questions, and the brain is just like a storage unit of past memories to give us answers, right? And so when we're asking ourselves, why am I so angry right now? Why am I not happy? The brain goes, oh, let me give you an answer. It's like a Google search. Oh, 4 million answers here. You're sad because you are unhealthy. You're sad because you're ugly. You're sad because you're not good enough. You don't bring anything to the table. So it's giving all these reasons for why you're unhappy, and knowing them, like being aware of all those reasons. Of course, you're not going to be happy because you think about all those things, right? So instead, we need to ask ourselves better quality questions in order to get better quality answers, right? So instead of asking, why am I so sad? You ask, what can I do to be happier? And now the brain exact same way goes, oh, let me find you all these answers. So here's 16 million answers saying, oh, you can go out and feel the sun on your face. You can do something that makes you happy. Go run around the lake. Go spend some time with your best friend, or just read a book that you love. Watch a movie. Like, there's so many things you can do to be a little bit happier. And all it is asking a better question to get that better answer.
It's reframing it, because I think the way that you first asked the question was more about the past, right?
Exactly.
And the way that you frame it is changing your focus to what you want more of in your life. I don't want that stuff, and so here's what I want instead. And so that
100%.
changes the whole trajectory of your life, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's the trick, really, is to focus on what you want, because where your energy goes, or your focus goes, energy flows, right?
Right, exactly.
So when you focus on what you don't want, that'll show up, and you'll have 100 million reasons, because it exists everywhere. Everything exists everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
So it's just, what are you looking for? That's what you're gonna see.
Seek and you shall find.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Beautiful. My journey to finding out how important self-love was for me is I realized I was unable to accept love or compliments or just Victor's love. I was not able to love him when I was stuck in my thoughts. And all we're ever dealing with is a thought. And Victor was the first one to bring me into emotional intelligence. Like, he was learning about it at the time that I met him, and he had just read a book and wrote all the notes to it. And so when I would get triggered and angry, when I first met Victor, I was so traumatized with my previous relationships that I always thought he was cheating. I would break up with him like all the time just because that's what I was used to. I didn't know anything different. It's what I saw growing up. It's what my family did. I didn't have an example really of a healthy, thriving relationship until Tony Robbins and Sage. I started following their journey. Then I was like, whoa, that's possible. So I realized, okay, if he tells me I'm beautiful, he can say it all day long, but until I decide that I'm beautiful, then I can accept it, right?
Exactly.
I am beautiful. So when he says I'm beautiful, I'm like, thank you so much. Like, thank you for seeing that. I see it too. Right? It's so important.
That's
important.
beautiful. So what happens, like, because I would imagine that Victor, well, a couple things. Victor, you saw something in Grecia that she was not recognizing in herself. Right.
Definitely.
And so you were trying to reflect that back to her. And how was it for you to help her help her face herself?
So this is another interesting part of the journey, right? I've always been a fixer in a way, and not just in relationships, but everything. If something's broken, I'll fix it. And so that was kind of a common theme in past relationships too. I tried to fix what was wrong, right? But back then in some of the other relationships, not everybody was willing to change there, right? So I was trying to fix something that didn't really have a better solution in a way. So in a way, I brought that same level of thinking into this relationship too. And like, I can help you. I can help you become the best version of yourself.
Right.
Also at that point, I had just not immediately before, but fairly recently before we met, I had gotten out of my previous relationship, which was pretty much the point where I said, never again will somebody run over me, or never again will I allow somebody to not see my worth because of the work that I had done on myself from that point. Is at the end of my ex relationship, as when I kind of started learning and growing into the whole personal development world. And so obviously that leading into more and understanding myself, knowing what I want, appreciating myself, starting to love myself. So also that, as well as the fixer me, bringing that into this relationship. Obviously I saw something in Grecia that, it was more than a knowing. It was just a feeling that this is right. It was, I had 2 long distance relationship before then, and I promised myself I would never, ever, ever do that again because it's so painful, right?
Never say never, right?
Never say never. And then we meet online, and I live in California at the time, and she's like, "Oh, I'm in Texas." I'm like, "Oh no! Okay, one more. Dang it. Okay, but this will be the last one." And so I knew there was definitely something there. Our connection was immediate. The first time I saw her, it was just like those, across the room, like, oh my gosh, who's that girl? And yeah, I think I tried to really bring that fixer into it at the same time as I had a love for myself, to where when she lashed out or tried to break up with me, I told her that if you do this again, I am not coming back. This is not a game of,
Wow.
You breaking up with me and I'm going to get on my knees and say, no, please, what can I do? It's like, no, I'm worth more. So if you're going to say that, I'm out, and I want you to know that. And that was kind of big shift for both of us when that actually happened. It was the first time I did that, and I was like, wow, the power I just felt in myself of, I own my own life. I can do that. I can say something like that and mean it. And that since then has changed my life in just claiming my power,
Wow.
That changed me completely.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, how did that affect you, Grecia?
So that was the last time I ever broke up with him. Like, and it was just exactly what I needed. Was like, I think I was so scared of not being loved and accepted, because at the end of the day, that is everyone's fear, is not being loved and accepted. So I pointed fingers at whoever I was dating, that this is your fault. And so I'm angry with myself, so I'm angry with you. But I didn't know that. I wasn't aware of that. And so me leaving a relationship was just me leaving a commitment to change or to better my life, right? So I would do it so often. And so that day, I was like kicking him out. He had moved from California to Texas, and I didn't care. I was so in my ego, because this is what I saw so much of, like there's so much trauma. And so he told me, he's like, this is the last time that you're doing this to me. And if you don't want to be with me, we're not going to be together anymore. And I remember it clicked within me, like, I love this guy. Like, I want to be with him. I'm willing to change. I'm willing to, I just remember a text that he sent me when we were in the long distance relationship, because I thought he was cheating on me all the time. And he sent me a text that said, like, anytime that you want to turn around, I'll grab your hand and I'll walk you back, like, as many times as I need to. Like, I'm here with you. Wow. And I'm going to help you come back to trust me. I know you have trust issues, but I'm going to show you that you have nothing to worry about. And from that moment when I broke up with him, he said, no, like, I'm not going to continue doing this. It's you're in or you're out. That was my first real commitment, the first time I really committed within myself. You know what? I'm going to trust him. I'm going to trust him 100% until the day, if it ever happens that he just like shows me that he's not worthy of trust, or, then we'll deal with it then. But I've never gone into a relationship trusting 100%, and I'm willing to do it now. And so it was a matter of shifting, right? The old thoughts to the new thoughts. So every time I had the thought, like, he's probably cheating on me, like, I should check his phone or whatever, I was like, no, remember, I decided to trust him. It's okay. Like, let's keep going. And then again, a week later, oh my gosh, he's cheating. I'm like, no, remember, we're trusting him. And so it's just me walking myself, right? My highest self walking little Grecia into a new way of being, into a new way of a real relationship of commitment, of love, authentic love for myself and for him. So beautiful journey so far.
Well, I think too, it's really important what you're talking about. Trust is a choice, but it's not just trusting him. It's really trusting yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Loving yourself enough. And this is one of the things that I think about beautiful partnerships. I believe that we are put together with people who are the perfect person to help us manage our triggers, right? They're the person that can help us heal the most. And when you're willing to face yourself first and face each other and hold hands together, that your love is more powerful than the problem that you're dealing with, that's our healing journey. That all of those feelings of insecurity and doubt and feelings of abandonment that you experienced growing up, Grecia, you found someone who was willing to push all those triggers, not consciously, but whatever was going on between you, he triggered all of those areas in yourself that you needed to love, that you needed to accept, that you needed to find that trust and establish your own sense of safety and security so that you can create that safe container for the both of you.
Yeah, definitely. And for a family in the future, your whole life changes. The generations to come will be different than anything we've ever seen. Either of us, because of this commitment to ourselves and to each other. It's a beautiful thing. Like, I'm grateful every day.
How has this affected your relationships with your family? I mean, how has that impacted your own family?
So with my family, I see the difference. Like, my mom is married for the first time ever. She's been in and out of relationships her whole life. And I know that Victor and I lead by example in our love. And we're very, very conscious that everybody is watching, everybody's watching. And so it's like, at first it was like, oh no, the fear of being seen, because what if they think we're showing off? And then that fear, I was like, that's a fear. What is fear? A lack of love. So what would love say? What would Jesus do if this was his relationship or whatnot? It's like, show it by example, to say, hey, it is possible to have this kind of relationship. I mean, Victor and I spend all day, every day together, for the exception of like 3 hours in the morning where we have our alone time. Like, we prioritize alone time. We do different spiritual practices and we have a 2 bedrooms, so 2 different rooms, and we're doing our own thing. And then we come together once we are full. And so, I mean, that's a role that was made up, or a fear from everything. It's like, oh, if you guys are together all the time, you're going to lose passion, you're going to lose all of this, and all of the rules are made up. It's whatever you decide, whatever you want it to be. Spending time with Victor for me is like spending time with myself. I love myself so much. I want to spend all the time with myself, and I get to share that with him, right? And so what that looks like in my family is just an influence. It's an example to show up for everybody. And my family's stepping up. Like, the people who are already married, they communicate way better. You can see that we've made a huge impact in the way relationships work in my family. It's amazing. It's amazing. It truly works, just to show up by example. If we told them something, it would be different. You can't shove beliefs down anybody's throat, but you can be the example, and then they're like, that worked for them, let me try it, and it works.
And for you too, Victor?
Yeah, it's well, so my parents are still together. They've been together my whole life, even going through some of the most difficult things, like losing a child. So obviously they have been incredible examples for me to see what's possible, right? And I think now when I'm speaking it out loud, obviously that specific thing of losing a child is like the hardest thing you can do together as a couple. So they were able to overcome that. Okay, Grecia thinks I'm cheating because of how other boyfriends treated her in the past. I understand. And if something like losing a child is overcomeable, then this is just like, it's so silly. It's such a small thing. So I'm willing to work with it, right? It's and yeah, of course. I mean, I think for me, what was difficult for my family early on was my lack of self-love, in the sense that I would do things for other people and not for myself. So I think they were a little bit fearful, in the sense that I would make a lot of big moves. I mean, I would move countries and stuff. I moved from Sweden to the States.
That's a big move.
That's a pretty big move. And not necessarily that big move, but some other moves have certainly been influenced by other people and what they wanted. And my family knew that that's not what I wanted, right? But I was just too afraid to speak up or to agree with the fact that that's how it is. Because I'm in love in this relationship and it's so great, but it's not, it's terrible. But, I was just trying to hide all the facts that were clear to everybody, right? And I think now that I have been able to embrace all of myself, and it's just greatly enhanced the dynamic of our entire family. It's leading by example and showing everybody that it's okay to have different opinions, and you can easily settle them. It doesn't have to be an argument. You don't have to be, not friends because of it or anything. It's an easy, simple conversation. Instead of fighting for a month, you can just talk about it for 5 minutes and it's settled and done. So obviously now I have 4 siblings. We're all living in 4 different cities. I live in a different country. And so we don't have that so much personal time together, but we have sibling meetings on the phone. And it's so much fun. And it's, when we show up as our best selves, it's kind of like not a virus, that's the opposite, but like a medicine.
A
like
medicine, there you go.
It's like it helps everybody else, right? Everybody reflects and sees how you're doing, and people see what's possible, and they know, okay, if somebody can do this, then at least, I can do at least as good. But when you explore that, you find out really soon that you can do even better, and that just triggers people, and like it allows you to reach new heights and get better every single day in every single area of life. So it's cool.
And do you find that also is true within your circle of friends?
Oh, 100%. 100%. Definitely.
There's so many, we have so many friends, Dawn. I'm trying to think, like, what circle of friends are
the world of friends.
Yeah, seriously, because we're so close to a lot of people on social media too. So I'm like, who are our Austin friends?
Yeah, that's kind of how it goes. Like the Austin friends, the Sweden friends.
But it influences the world definitely, and we do what we feel called to as far as being like open about our relationship and anything that triggers us. Or like this weekend I had a blossoming retreat. Blossoming is my group coaching program, or one of the many that I have. And we had a retreat, and Victor and I had we were not agreeing on something, and so some of the girls were in the back seat, right? And I was like, okay, girls, like, this is the way that Victor and I communicate through things, right? Like, we don't agree on this, so we're just going to continue to ask each other questions until either we agree or we agree to agree that both sides are valid. And it's a field of pure potential, like all unlimited possibilities, so both of them can be right. And so I allowed them to see that. A lot of them have, maybe have divorced parents, or, have never seen anything like that, where it's never, ever a fight, right? It's just like, our egos will get triggered, right? The personality would be like, skirt, like, hold on, I have to change my personality over this answer, right? And so, yes, that will happen, but we know how to handle it very well. We ended up that day saying, like, okay, like, go take time for yourself. I'm going to go this way at the grocery store. You go that way at the grocery store. And at the end, he was like, okay, like, I feel maybe my ego was too triggered, and I was scared that I was going to lose. And we got to explain all of this. We really got step by step, hey, this is the way arguments work. And it's rare whenever we come to an argument, right? But it was beautiful to be able to share that experience with other people, and for them to see it's okay for you guys to disagree, and you can come back to love,
right.
Easily.
Yeah, my parents always used to say, we agree to disagree. It's the same thing. It's like you're agreeing that each person has the right to their own opinion and perspective. And that's really coming from a place of both security within yourself, that their difference of opinion doesn't affect your perspective or your opinion, and that you can accept the other person for exactly who they are. Like, okay, well, I don't really see your perspective, but I accept and respect your perspective.
Exactly. Yeah, I am enough, and you are still enough, even if we're different, right? So it's like,
right,
as long as you know you're enough, I know I'm enough, and we still love and accept each other, we're golden. We're golden.
I think that's a really, really challenging perspective. That was one thing that I struggled with in my own marriage, because my ex used to say, well, you're disagreeing with me, you don't respect me. And I was like, just because I disagree has nothing to do with my level of respect for you. I just see things in a different way. And that doesn't make you right and me wrong, or me right and you wrong. It's just different. And so and I think what happens in couples when they have those sort of disagreements is that instead of trying to turn towards each other and face in the same direction, they end up turning their backs on each other.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's the fear of not enough. Yeah. Like, oh, well, he doesn't accept me, so I'm not enough. Or
right.
It's always, every single fear we have is always at the root of it is that I'm not enough. So if we can be the ones to tell ourselves, hey, it's okay, you're still enough. Everything that you say and do is enough always. If we are the ones who tell us that, we never have to fear that if somebody else doesn't think we're enough, that really hinders our value or makes us less valuable, right? Like it really doesn't. It doesn't. You're enough because you are.
Yeah.
And the common saying of you don't see the world as it is, you see the world the way you are, right? That just taught me so much about, no matter what I say, I mean, I can say a joke right here and Dawn, you'll laugh your butt off while Grecia starts crying and she gets super angry about it, right? Is it the joke or is it the meaning you put behind it? Right. It's the meaning you put behind it. So nothing that I do can change anybody else. I can provide perspectives, but only if you're open and willing to receive them, will you be able to take that perspective and change your life personally. So in that sense too, once I figured that out, it made it so clear to me that all I can ever do is be me, because I can't force somebody to change and be a version that I would want them to be. And even if I did everything right, you can't say the right thing to the wrong person, and you can't say the wrong thing to the right person, right? If you're just being yourself, that's the best way to do it, because you're going to enjoy it a lot more if you're just doing what you would have done if there was no problem in the world, right? And because there isn't any problems in the world. If you have that perspective, it's just a lot easier to see little spats and little triggers as, oh, it's not a big deal. And I think for me, again, because of my past, and I never wanted to leave any situation with a fight. So that, I mean, growing up with all those losses that I went through, it got to a point where my mom went to the grocery store and I had to run out to the door and like be sure that I said bye, Mom, before she left, because what if she got in a car accident and died? That's what it was on my mind all that time, and it, obviously very destructive and painful, but it taught me a very important tool and that I've used in our relationship, where we're both doing it now. But in the beginning of, if we're in an argument and I know for a fact that I'm right, for a fact that I'm right, but she also knows for a fact that she's right. So I didn't want to leave it there, because what's the point? That's just painful and boring. And what if this is our last day? I wouldn't want to leave it at that. So to totally just silence your ego, go and give her a hug and say, I'm sorry. And say, then I got to figure out, I could have done this differently. I could have seen your point of view with more love, right? And if you just allow that, and like you're saying, instead of turning your backs against each other, as long as, and that's what I found too, is as long as one person opens up and says, hey, I'm sorry, it almost, I'd say 100% of the time, because I think that's never been the other case. 100% of the time, the other person will be like, no, you know what, I'm sorry too. And now you're at a level place where you can talk about it and eventually get to a place of agreement, or you can agree to disagree, or agree to agree that you have just different points of view, and it's and it's okay. It doesn't mean anything, right? It's just, it is. And I love myself still, and she loves herself still, and we love each other still, and that's cool. That's all it is. It's so simple.
It's like it's always trying to look from that love perspective. Like you said, Grecia, what would love do in this circumstance? And if you take responsibility for that, I say this often, like, you can't fix your partner, you can't fix your marriage, you can only fix yourself. And it's that, when those fears and insecurities come up, you have to look at yourself and say, where am I not loving myself? Where am I not accepting myself? And when you come to that place within yourself, then you're able to do that with your partner as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. And for us, we're both very certain, right? And we're both like leaders. We're both Virgos. He's a manifestor generator.
Me too.
Really? Okay, cool.
Cool.
I'm a reflector in human design, which means whatever I'm around, I am, right? So I am him. I am him. So we're like, oh, any fight we have with each other is a fight with ourselves, right? It's like, okay, it's something that I need to work on, or he needs to work on, or whatnot. Just a self-reflection.
Yeah.
You can come in exactly what you're saying, Don. So it's beautiful.
It's interesting when I started studying quantum physics in a spiritual sense, and understanding that everything is energy, and this intelligence in every single atom, that to me is God, right? It's the order of the entire universe that lives inside of us and in this water bottle. Like, it's everywhere, right?
Right.
And so knowing and coming from that standpoint that everything is coming from the same place. You are me, I am you, we're the same. So when you're looking at another person, you're seeing yourself just individually wrapped. Like, it's a different wrapping around this person, but it's me. So at any point, Grecia is making me upset, I'm making me upset, right? And that shift of mindset, I was thinking, okay, this is a problem in our relationship. It's because it's a problem in me. And even in the world, like, you can expand that to say there's war in the world today because there's war in me. And not to say that I am a violent person. I've never been in a fight in my entire life, except when I played hockey, but that's not the same thing. It lives in me because I am consciousness, and that is the same consciousness that lives here as well as on the battlefield. So what can I do to eradicate war in me? And that's the only way I can do it. So you're being the change, right? We're talking about, and in everything. If it's in your apartment complex, there's a bad vibe. Well, be the good vibe and spread that good vibe. Don't just sit and talk about how bad the vibe is. You gotta see, okay, it's a bad vibe because I have the bad vibe in me. Cool, so let me change it.
It's that, placing blame and looking to the past, saying what I don't like, versus looking forward and saying, this is what I want. I want more peace. I want more love. I want more acceptance. I want more compassion, all of those things that you take responsibility for how you are giving those things to yourself and to the world. Yeah.
And once we can strip everything from its labels, right? Again, we don't see the world the way it is. We see the world as we are. And once we can strip things of labels, it's not about different races. It's one race, a human race, right? But we're all in one spinning rock in space. Like, it's so silly. I mean, if anybody's ever been on an airplane, flown into LAX, you see all those lights, right? At nighttime, you see so many lights before you're about to land. And in every single light is a single house, let's say. And in that house, there might be 2 or 1 to 5 people, let's just say, and they all have their own little tiny problems. But when you're seeing it from this grand perspective, it's like, oh my gosh, all those problems are so small. And this is just one part of one city in one state, in one country on this planet. It's so small. All of our problems, we think they consume our entire life. They're so tiny. And it's when you just shift your perspective and thinking, I mean, let me just say now, for everybody watching this, whatever is in your life right now that you think is the biggest obstacle in the world, play with the perspective that the obstacle is not there anymore because you just overcame it. What would you do if it wasn't there? How would you act differently if this problem didn't exist anymore? Because it doesn't. Or does it? I don't know. Whatever you think it does, right? If your focus is on it does exist, then it will exist. What you see, you become. The world is whatever you are perceiving. Yeah. So it's just all a matter of changing your perspective. That's as simple as that. And of course, it's not easy.
In the beginning, but it gets easier.
It gets easier, and
with practice.
It is.
It's a practice. It's a practice.
Absolutely. But for anybody who has done the work and who's been through it and sits on the other side, they will all say that, it was just a matter of, it was just like flipping a switch, right? And of course, being in there where it's all dark and scary, you might be like, how the hell can you say this is easy? Because it's hard. And yeah, I've been there myself. I understand.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, all it is the switch.
Mm-hmm.
And the sooner you can admit that and just flip that switch, you will agree with me.
So all the switch is love and fear.
Yes.
Right. There's only two human emotions, and everything stems from those two. So there's love, which code words for love are joy, happiness, abundance, success. Code words for fear of the past being depression, fear of the future being stress and anxiety, right? So we have those two. So what he means by the flip of the switch is, instead of asking yourself questions that bring up those fears, like, how am I going to pay this bill? Or what is wrong with me? Why am I so fat? Like all of these fearful questions. Instead, you ask yourself loving questions like, what does the voice of love within me say about this? What would Jesus do, right? What would, those are questions that help me. Or how can I see this through a different lens, the lens of love? How can I see this through a more loving perspective? Because nothing means anything besides the meaning that we give it, right? So if my cup falls, I can say God's punishing me, or I can say this is the happiest day of my life because the water purified me and now I'm like baptized, like whatever, right?
Amen, sister.
Right? And it's like, neither of those are true. It feels true if you believe them to be true, but the truth, the real truth is the water fell.
Right.
It is what it is. And any meaning we put behind it is what we're going to feel, is what we're going to attract more of. Right. So that's the practice of focusing on love or fear. If you seek fear, you will receive more fear. If you seek love, you will receive more love. So that's that flip of the switch of what would love do in this moment, and what would love do in this moment, and what would love do in this moment, and just every single moment. This is the voice of love. You have a voice in your head, right? You can't hear it with your ears, but there is a voice in your head. Right. You listen to it, it might be saying, "There's no voice in my head." Right? It sounds like you, and it's always coming from love or fear. Right? So we have both of them. So what does the voice of fear say? Okay, you're fat and lazy. What does the voice of love say? That is so mean. Instead, I'm going to decide to say, I am enough exactly as I am. Everything that I say and do is enough. And I am so grateful for this beautiful body, no matter what it looks like, because I have arms and I have legs, and I'm blessed to be breathing. So many people woke up without breath today. Today, so many people have died, and I get to breathe. That's the voice of love. Wow. Right? And it makes you feel different. You see the world through a different lens. You see it through love. Yeah. It's a whole different experience.
Just flipping that switch and changing your perspective changes your entire life. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It is beautiful. And it's like emanating from both of you. Like you're just so bright. And I think that's the beautiful thing about just living in your own truth. You know, it doesn't really matter what you say or how you show up. It's just that you are, you know, that you're constantly evolving and really honoring what's inside of you, no matter if it looks good or bad, you know, to the outside world. It's how you're dealing with it, how you're processing it. And, you know, love. Choose love.
Yeah.
Love.
And it's fun.
The core of our practice.
Yeah, I was gonna say it turns into a game, right? Once you've played around with some of those real dark perspectives, once you remove those lenses from you know, in front of your eyes, now you can play with other things. Like, how can I be more fulfilled in my work life? Okay, well, I could maybe, the whole concept of a 9 to 5 and working Monday to Friday and only having Saturday, Sunday off. Like, I would rather do working Saturday, Sunday and have 5 days off. Cool. So how can I do that? Like, you're seeing how else can I make my life better? And there'll be stuff that comes up, like little thorns that will prick you and like, oh, that's painful. I want to really get rid of that quick. And you're just focusing on solving all these problems and so bettering, finding new perspectives in every single area of your life. And that's what life is to me. It's a fun game to see how amazing can I make this journey.
Okay,
so transformation that occurs. I was going to say the transformation that occurs when you're in this practice. One of my experiences, when I was little, I watched a ton of horror movies. And so I think I'm scared to be alone because I always feared the devil was going to get my feet if my leg was out. And I feel in the Mexican cultures, they'll say like, oh, they want you to go to sleep. So they'll say, if you stay awake, like the cucuy is going to get you, right? The devil's going to come get you. And they don't know any better, but that really traumatized me. And so in the beginning of my meditation journey, I was scared to close my eyes. Like I was like, if I close my eyes, I'm going to see the devil. I know I'm going to see the devil, right? And so I did it anyway. I decided to trust myself anyway. And when I saw the devil, recently I did a drum circle meditation. I saw the devil and I saw him, and he was seeking me for help. He wanted to see the world through the lens of love. And he's like, how do I do this? And that was so powerful for me, because I allowed myself to close my eyes and be there. And I walked him through, hey, this is what you can do. I love and accept you. That's all that you needed, is for somebody to love and accept you exactly for who you were, so you can love and accept you, because only hurt people.
Right.
And so through that experience now, right, just how big of a change happens when you practice love over fear. When I close my eyes, I instantly get the feeling, like I envision my 7-year-old self hugging my heart, right? So I envision her in my heart, and she just hugging, and she's like in the creases of my heart, like just so held and so loved, and feeling the heartbeat like the way a baby would on a chest. Like, so I love closing my eyes now, because I get to experience what it's like for me, my heart to be beating every moment for me and for this world and for love, right? I'm like, wow, from being scared that I was going to see the devil and I was going to be possessed and be like Exorcist episode, right? I really thought that was going to happen to me. To now experiencing so much love and bliss and happiness, and all because of this practice. It's a beautiful thing. It really is.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. I wanted to finish up and just ask you, because Victor, you were talking about creating the life of your dreams. If you would like to talk a little bit about your Chimp.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I'm currently working on it's a cartoon. It's an animated TV show. It's this guy right here.
So adorable.
Bananas, the show. And yeah, it's been a process, right? And figuring out not just what I want to contribute in life, but how I want to contribute. Obviously we have coaching services. We're doing private coaching, group coaching, and family coaching.
Retreats,
and things like that.
Yeah.
I have always been artistic. I've always had a knack for just creating something with my hands. And so, and film has always had a huge impact on me. I know that I mean, a lot of Disney movies and things like that growing up, which definitely helped me during, that trauma period.
Yeah, the grief. Yeah, the grief.
Yeah, just being able to see films and movies that portray perspectives that'll help you grow and learn. And so I've always held on to that. And when you also ask yourself, what would I want to see in this world, right? Not just in my life, but what else do I want to see in this world? I came up with the fact that I wanted to see a new kind of TV. Like I want to see a cartoon that's not dumbed down, that cartoon that's super intelligent, with conscious humor, with the kind of jokes that are not poking fun of other people in order to be successful, but that is just it's uplifting and it's fresh and it's
good, it's raw funny. Humor.
Yeah, exactly. So Bananas is a big project that I'm working on, and I've never done anything like it before. And so that's part of the project, because I'm literally learning everything as I go. I'm learning how to draw cartoons. I'm learning how to animate, obviously. I'm learning story writing. I'm learning script writing. I'm learning the whole process of making a film. And I'm public with it, and I have, it's on Instagram and everything. So it's just a way for me to really manifest my greatest desire of creating an entire cartoon show, and for people to be along in the process to see that, yeah, it wasn't always easy. There were struggles, but I overcame every single problem, right? Because sometimes people get too, again, they get wrapped up in the problems, right? Focusing on what you don't want versus what you do want. And so I just want to be an example of anything is possible. Like no matter what, it's possible. And because I enjoy the process so much, I don't care if it's going to take me 10 years, which it won't, but if it did, it's okay, because I enjoy the process so much.
Right.
And I think that once we all find the things that we can do tirelessly. I mean, Grecia has to pretty much pull me out from the computer or from the book that I'm reading to be like, hey, we need to eat. We haven't had lunch or breakfast, and it's 8 p.m. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. So yeah, and I think that once we find those things, because we all have a very unique personal talent that lives in us, right? And so I think for me, I don't know if it's exactly cartooning, but it's this process, and I know I'm going to find out exactly what it is, or if it's the whole process, who knows?
It's the storytelling, because even in your videos with you and yourself,
yeah,
those are great stories. I love those. I just used to laugh. I was like, oh my God, you are so clever.
Yeah, I'm having so much fun with all that. But yeah, so basically, film to me is an excellent way to provide perspective. That's what it is, right? You're watching everything from a camera, from a lens,
right?
And I get to put different colors, different focus on different things, put different things in the background to kind of force you to see certain things. So in a way, I am God in this world, right? In this little cartoon world, and I'm creating the world that I wish to see.
Beautiful.
And people understand. So yeah, it's like a mini manifestation of the real world that I want to see, doing it through a little film. So yeah, it's really fun, super fun.
And how about you, Grecia? Which world are you creating with your coaching and your retreat? And can you talk a little bit about that too?
Yeah, sure. I have so many things going on.
I know you're always juggling. Both of you are juggling a million things at the same time.
We really do listen every day. Every day. So I believe my life is a vacation. So every day looks completely different. I mean, I have a few things on my schedule, but for the most part, like, my life is whatever I want it to be every day. So that sometimes looks like interviews for podcasts, and sometimes it looks like family coaching when I'm guided to do so. Really just helping in whatever way I feel that. So I strongly believe that my clients, like, wrote their contracts before they were born, right? They chose to be in my life. They chose to have me as a spiritual teacher way before they were even on this planet. So I never have to worry about, oh, am I going to have clients? Like, I already know that they decided a long time ago that they're going to find me. And so I'm just kind of like open and ready to receive them. And my thing, which is different than most life coaches maybe, is that I create programs based on what my clients need, right? So some of my clients have teenagers with suicidal thoughts and stuff like that, who, of course, they have their doctors and like licensed physicians that are helping them through the process, but also on top of that, life coaching with me helps them to become light workers, right? So instead of seeing ourselves as victims of a world, we see ourselves as leaders. Okay, we went through this experience because, and we put something empowering behind that. The transformations that occur from stepping up in this way are just so fulfilling. I mean, I can't even imagine what my life would be like if I didn't create these specific programs for people. So it's really like, okay, I feel my clients come to me usually like, I feel called to get coaching with you. Okay, well, what are you expecting from coaching? What do you want to change in your life? And then I decide what would be the most fun way for me to help you achieve that. Well, that could be a 31-day program and we get it done. Now you have a new habit where you're like making happiness a habit every single day. Or it could be like, just one 30-minute coaching call and you're good, girl. Like, I'll make sure that in 30 minutes, like, you have a whole different perspective of your life. You'll never see the lies as truth again, right? The lies being fear.
Right.
So yeah, unique. And then we do retreats as well. And I have blossoming, which is for like age 20 to 30 women. It's a sisterhood where we experience what it's like not to be in competition with each other, right? In school, in public school, you're always first, second, third place and competing and who's better and all of this. And I've experienced myself what it's like to have sisters in my own personal life. My sisters are my older sister is such a good example of what a sister is like. You can never fight with your sister forever. Like, not my sister and I. So I provide that environment for women, right? Where they come together, they're vulnerable, they're open, and they shift. That's the most important part. Not only are you throwing up your fears, but we're throwing it up, and you're showing me how you're shifting it now. What's the new perspective that you're choosing to live your life by? Then everybody's sharing, and everybody's just honoring each other, and holding them in light and love. And no matter what, we love and accept you. No matter what you do, we love and accept you. We're your sisters forever, period. Like, we can never be in a fight with each other. It's not a thing. That's my blog. Light Up the World is for spiritual entrepreneurs. Woo, I don't even know what else is going. And some more things are coming soon for sure. 8 a.m.
They're always coming. They're always coming. I mean, I think that's the beauty of the journey. You know, it's like, ooh, what new surprises am I going to experience today?
Yeah.
For sure. Lots of good stuff. And it's just an amazing life. Like, unlimited possibilities.
Yeah.
We strongly believe that. We live our life by the 7 spiritual laws of success by Deepak Chopra. Just really aligning with those values helps us to support each other. Like, I know for a fact that Victor's purpose is in filmmaking, and so it's easy for me now versus little Grecia, right? But it's easy for me now to be like, he needs to be in front of the computer for X amount of hours today. Like, God needs him there.
Yeah.
Because I can't change the world by myself.
Right.
Like, that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure. So I got to do what I feel called to do. He has to do what he feels called to do. And then we just right next to each other, support each other. You know, we have a dog together. So, like, you know, can you take out the dog right now? And then I'll take out the dog later or not. And later it'll be babies. We're really just helping each other grow as much as possible and heal as much as possible. We life coach each other all day, every day.
It's a beautiful team.
Yeah, definitely. It's amazing. It's been
it's
super fun.
It's super fun. And like, just exploring what you like to do. I mean, it could just be silly things. Like, I actually kind of enjoy vacuuming, but I hate washing the dishes, right?
Me too.
But dishes I can't stand. I would rather poke myself with needles for an hour than do the dishes. So it's like, okay, and then we just kind of separate the things up. So if there's dishes, okay, guess we'll do the dishes. We need to vacuum, I'll vacuum.
Yeah.
So it's like, and of course, if for some reason there's dishes to be made, but Grecia is stuck in work or she's got calls, then of course I'll do them because I love her and I love my kitchen. I love myself. I don't want to be a big mess. So it's just easy when you're working as a team.
Teamwork. Yeah.
And you're doing it for the greatest good, not for your own ego.
Yeah. So my last question is, what is real love?
Real love.
Real love.
Okay,
no shit. You
okay,
go.
I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
So love is all there is, and everything else is just an illusion. So all that is love. If you look at nature as a reflection of yourself, that is love in action. So love can be as fiery as a volcanic eruption or as soft as a snowflake, right? So there's so many different versions of what love can be. A forest fire for rebirth, right? Like, it could be traumatic and be like, oh my gosh, why is this happening? But it's all happening for rebirth, for new birth to come. So love is in everything. There is no separation from love. If we ever think we're separated from love, that is the illusion, right? It's kind of like you fell asleep and then you wake up. It's like, would you be mad at yourself for falling asleep? No, you just fell asleep, but then now you're awake, right? And this is the only real moment in time. This moment where you're hearing my voice. So real love is just flowing with everything that is, allowing, for me, the love, like love to work through me in every moment. Before this call, before every coaching call, before anything that I do, I always ask love to work through me. And I envision that a channel is coming through me and that love is speaking for the highest good of all. Anything that needs to be said for whoever is on the other side of this, right? Allow that to come through me. Allow that to come through me through inspiration, which is in spirit, right? Enthusiasm, which is in theos, which is in God. So this is God working through us, right? Love working through us for the highest good of all, for our evolution. So that's my definition of real love, is everything. And then the illusion that we're separate is just an illusion, a lie that we're telling ourselves.
Yeah, that's good shit. Later, take a note. Yeah, very much on the same line. I believe that love, call it bliss, call it enlightenment, is our natural state of being. And everything else are just layers. They're just dirty or cracked lenses that are not true. So at any point in time we don't feel blissed or in love, then all those other feelings, like the fearful feelings, or it could just be an ache or something, that those are all signals, right, to let us know where to bring attention and to heal and to add love to. It's like a shaded area that needs some sun, and that's all that is. So essentially, true love to me is being, just being, because that is bliss, that is love. And if you're being but you're a little pissed, then you're not being. You have a thought, or you're holding on to a belief that's not true. So let go. And once we can just be and be ourselves, not be who somebody's told us to be, because then again, we're being something but we're not fulfilled. That's not bliss, that's not love. So there's a trigger, there's a flag there to bring attention to shine love on that shady spot. But once we can just be and live a life every single day being, and just being in love all day, that's true love to me.
For sure. I would say, to add on to that really quick, a practice that you can do at home for the people who are listening, the voice of love and the voice of fear, like I was talking about earlier. The voice of fear, if you can see that as your inner child, right? You can think of a time where you were probably traumatized, or where this fear might have come from. For me, it was like 7 years old, right? So I think of the 7-year-old version of me. And so this conversation, just like you need communication to have a healthy relationship, well, we must first have a healthy relationship with ourselves.
Right.
So if there is any fear, any illusion, we can see that as a little girl or a little boy that lives within us still. We just grew a little bit taller, right? So in every moment, if we see, oh, like I'm trying to be, but I do have this fear of this, it's not you that has this fear. It's a hurt inner child, a traumatized little child. So a practice that I practice is like, okay, little Grecia, what's living beneath the surface, right? And I take the time to hear her. I'll say it out loud. I'll speak it to Victor and just ask him to hold space without offering advice or anything. Like, let me just hear what she has to say, right? What does a hurt child within me have to say? Once I hear it, okay, what would God tell me, right? Or what my highest self, her name is Grace. So then I say, Grace, step forward, or I do whatever I need to do to bring.
There you go.
Okay,
You're back.
So bring that highest self forward, right? When I bring that highest self forward, then I offer her words of wisdom. I offer her words of comfort, and I help her to see things through the lens of love again, right? So if the fear is, well, I'm fearful that, Victor's not going to love me if I tell him what I truly desire, right? Like, I'm fearful that he's going to leave me, or, whatnot. Then I tell her, like, if he does leave you, it's okay. You'll be okay. Worst case scenario, it's okay. We'll survive. We'll continue. And knowing Victor, I feel like his perspective would be this, which is completely different. Maybe you had this fear because of a stepdad or whatnot. So can you trust me to move forward, right? You can trust me to move forward, and we can go through this together. Like, let me hold your hand. And I envision myself holding your hand. Like, it's okay. I'll hug her, right? In my mind's eye, I'll hug her and envision that this little girl who needs me so much merges into me, and her little beating heart becomes my beating heart. It's that same beating heart. It's hers, right? And so I envision her coming into me, and now she's me again, right? Yeah. She's that grace. She's that love within me. And so I walk differently. I talk differently. I believe differently, and I see differently, right? It just all comes full circle. Back to love.
Yeah, full circle. Yeah. I was thinking too, like when you were talking about the lens and changing perspective, it's like love is the purest, most clear lens, right?
Yeah, it's like basically it's the seer without a lens, I would say. It's when you don't even have lenses, it's just seer. It's the seer, observer. The eye of the world. And yeah, that's why it's so freaking important. Exactly what Grace is saying is because I think often when we see problems in the world, they upset us, or we're mad at the people that don't understand, or we're frustrated and we hate the people that are at war with each other. But it's exactly that level of thinking that is continuing that process, right? War will never end war. Only peace will, right? So just as fear will never save you from what you're afraid of, loving on those fears will. So that's why when if you've ever heard love is what's going to save the world. It's exactly right. It's that change that needs to be had to remove the problem, because you will never be able to solve the problem with the same level of thinking that created the problem.
Right.
You have to go to the place where that problem no longer exists, which is in love.
Right.
In love, no problems ever exist. So that's why love will heal the world.
Yeah. Marianne 2020.
Be the change. Be the change you want to see in the world.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. I love you too so much. Thank you so much for being here. If people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
So you can absolutely go follow our journeys on Facebook and Instagram. And we'll be sure to tag them in this post here. I'm currently right now working on our brand new website that is going to be thekarlssons.world, where cool. It's like a hub for everything that we do, and you'll be able to find all of our coaching services, all of our videos, and a whole bunch of good stuff. It's going to be like a party just going to the website. So that'll be launched here pretty soon. I don't have an exact date for it, but keep an eye out for it for sure.
And if it clicks true with you that you made a soul contract to work with me and you're feeling it right now, just send me a message. I'd be happy to help any way that I can.
Grecia Karlsson and Victor Karlsson, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for showing up. Thank you.
So if you like what you heard today, please subscribe and share with your friends. And also, if you would like support in finding more connection, expansion, freedom, and acceptance in your relationships, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at The Awakening with Dawn. And you feel free to send me a message, and I'd be happy to help you find and create more real love in your life. And remember that we've talked about the most important relationship you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself, so that you can be the kind of partner that you want to have.
Yes.
Thanks for joining me, and thanks listeners for listening. Take care, you guys.
Bye.
Bye.